Good evening and welcome to Emerson Institute at City of Light. I'm Reverend Dr. Paul Gretz, and I'm welcoming you to tonight's new class entitled The Basic Principles of Science of the Mind by Frederick Bales. I'm so glad that you've joined us for this special class. I think you're going to really enjoy this 8-week series on a study of some simple foundational principles of science of the mind. Now, this book is a study guide that has been put together by Dr. Frederick Bales, and he was a very influential person in the New Thought genre. He worked very closely with Ernest Holmes. Now, he writes a very simple guide for helping us to understand the principles, the very foundations of science of the mind and our New Thought journey. So I'm glad that you've joined us, that we can join together and really look at some of these powerful principles for our life and how they apply. This is class number 1 of an 8-week series offering you 2 credits if you're taking this class for credit towards a degree, a bachelor's, master's, or doctorate of divinity, or doctorate of religious studies, or studies of spirituality. You're welcome to inquire more about enrolling into our classes by reaching out to me at revtpaul@aol.com. You can simply send me a message expressing your interest. We'll connect you with our registrar, Dr. David Carter, and share with you all the information about enrolling so that all these classes that you're enjoying can be taken for college credit for you. So with that in mind, let's prepare for our class tonight. Let's do so by taking 3 deep cleansing breaths. We're going to breathe in through our nose, hold for a brief moment, and then push out through our mouth. And this allows us to just release all distractions in our life and to reset our thinking, to allow ourselves to be more in tune with the moment, to the right here and the now. So let's do this together. Would you join with me? Let's breathe in. Breathe in and release. Deep breath in and release. Deep breath in and release. And in this moment of silence, let's set our intention. Express in your thoughts and in your heart that which you desire to receive during this time that we share together. And so it is. All right. Well, welcome. This is class number 1, and we're going to take a look at some of the introduction to this workbook. If you've not purchased yours already, please know that you can get this workbook through Amazon.com. Simply Google Basic Principles of Science of the Mind by Frederick Bales, and it can be sent off to you in a matter of days, so you can read along, study along, take notes, etc. Now, also, class notes will be sent out to you if you request them. Simply let me know, again, by reaching out to me at my email address at revtpaul@aol.com. We'll make sure that notes are sent to you and to all of our students just prior to every class setting so that you can follow along in the cliff notes of each chapter. Now, our circumstances are always a reflection of our inner thinking. And we must look inside ourselves for the real causes of all of our sorrows and our joys. This whole journey is going within. I can't emphasize this enough, how important it is to understand in our spiritual journey that we are called to be people who are seeking and looking inside, looking within, because that's where we're going to find the kingdom of heaven. Jesus spoke about it. It's within. The realm of God, the divine presence, it's all happening within our consciousness. So to go there, that is the key place for us understanding, to look inside within ourselves, the real causes of all those sorrows and the joys that we experience in this day-to-day journey. We've reached the point where we are not only able, but also required by the law of our being to take a more active part in our personal evolution than ever before. Now, this is from Thomas Troward, a metaphysical author and teacher from the 1800s through 1916. He's a great influence in the New Thought genre, but he's really pointing out to us that we are actually required in the journey of our life to really take a more active part in our personal evolution, to really look to say, what's going on in our lives? How happy are we? How content are we? How successful and prosperous do we feel? Are we feeling a sense of lack or unloved? Well, we need to go within and to take a moment to examine what's going on within our thought process. Now, here is the central theme of Science of the Mind, that there is a power within you that can lift your life to the highest level. There is a power within you that can lift your life to the highest level and change your illness to health, or bring peace amid turmoil, success out of failure, and bring companionship and happiness out of loneliness. This power within will respond to you. This is so true as we look throughout the ancient truth of the scriptures, that the very Spirit of God knows the desires of our heart before we even ask. It is then waiting for us to express this ask in a sense of proclamation, declaration, to proclaim, to claim that which we so desire for our highest and best. So it's really important that we take an active part in the claiming each and every day. This is the kind of day I want to live. This is the kind of life I want to live. I claim it. That is the ask. And the universe knows the desire of your heart well before you ask. So it's already been prepared. It's ready for us, ready to unfold within our lives. The only thing that is necessary is for us to offer this proclamation, this acknowledgement, this declaration, this recognition of this wonderful, blessed life that's already been prepared for us and is already there, available to us. Now, we may all wonder why our desires are not granted and why some of our prayers are not answered. We may blame God for what our own minds are doing. Now, worthy desires are not planted within us in order to mock us, but in order that they might be fulfilled. So we want to really understand this, that why aren't all of our desires granted? It's because we're not claiming, we're not asking in the sense of a recognition of that which is already there. Quite often, the ask that we do is, God, would you please? I beg, I beseech, I storm the gates of heaven, and I call out, name, and go in a sense of feeling as if we do not have, and as if we feel God is withholding. So we're constantly trying to beg, plead, beat our chest, essentially in prayer, trying to get God to sort of wake up to our desires. But let me tell you this. The real answer to our prayer, the answers to our prayers are there when there is a real, genuine acknowledgement of the divine power within us, ready to unfold our highest and best. And it is a sense of knowing that it's already there. It's already waiting for us. We just need to acknowledge it. Now, the blocking of our worthy desires is truly against the very laws of nature. Yet, I'm going to tell you this. We are the cause of the blocks of our highest and best. Those blocks that are there are often our fears, our sense of lack, our sense of separation from God, our negative energy and negative thought process, our doubting, our stress, our worry. So we got to go within ourselves and do some examination and say, what is there that's blocking the unfolding of the highest and best within my life? Because if you're not living a successful, prosperous life, it would be wise for you to do a little inventory to say, why am I not? It's not because of culture. It's not because of your family. It's not because of some tradition. It's not because of society. It has everything to do with our own perspective and what's going on within us. No matter who you are, you may come from a poverty. You may come from a family with great challenges. You may come from a minority. You may come from all kinds of circumstances that you would say, these are the obstacles to my success. But there are numerous stories of people who've overcome every one of those. So if one can overcome, all can overcome. And the overcoming begins in the work that we do within our own lives. So let's uncover the laws of answered prayer so that our desires are fulfilled by following those laws. first we need to understand that there's no favoritism in the universe. And when we understand this, that God is not saying, I am blessing one group of people more than others. The universe is not saying that someone is more entitled to blessing than others, or that somehow because of who you are, or your identity, your gender identity, your orientation, your race, all these things, we could go down the list, none of them are in consideration, because God sees us all the same. And those who have failed have followed the laws simply of failure. Laws of failure. So get this. For every effect in this world, there is a corresponding cause. So whatever is happening in your life, there's a corresponding cause to it. We cannot plant tomato seeds and get roses. So let's begin by asking, what are you planting? What's the cause? What are you planting in your life? Is there fear, doubt, or is there an affirming yes? Is there an affirming belief? Is there great faith that says, I know all things are working together for my good? The outer effect will always reflect the inward. What's going on inside is always going to be seen and evidenced and revealed in the outward. And the beauty is we can change the inward so we can bring about a change in the outward. So when we begin to practice the very spiritual laws of sowing and reaping, and we start sowing a belief that all things are working together for good, then that which we've sown is what we shall reap. There are those today who constantly want to speak about it's time for us to stand up and fight. We need to fight the battle. We need to stand up against evil. We need to stand up against these things. And there's always this wrestling that's going on. There's always this fight. And the only reason there's a fight is because we simply give power to that which we've deemed as an enemy. Now, when we go inside and we feel like no one is an enemy, there is nothing there that we need to get upset about. There is nothing that we need to fight, because the battle is not picking up swords and shields. It's not about weapons of spirituality that we may bring forward. What we use, shall we say, to live the victorious life is simply the inward cause of knowing there's all good. Trust in the Lord with all your heart and lean not on your own understanding. In all your ways acknowledge God, and God will direct your paths, says Proverbs 3, 5, and 6. That's the tool you use in life, is that you're trusting. God is directing your path, and that path is always upward towards your highest and best. And when we rest in that, there is no fight. There is no battle. Oh, all that is there that is an obstacle, that we may seem as an obstacle, we may create as an obstacle in our mind because of our emotions and feelings attached towards it. So we create these things to be blocks and barriers and feeling like there's something that we've got to wrestle with and overcome. But let me tell you to stop giving power to it from the inside and just rest in the knowing that there is one power, and that power is all good, and that power is God. There's one power. That's it. And there is not a battle of good and evil. Evil only exists when we give it power. So there's not a battle. When you stop giving it power, it disseminates, disappears. It's the same principle that where does darkness go when the light turns on? So when we live in the light of goodness, when we embrace this all the time within our heart and our life, what happens is there's no darkness. It disappears. It's gone. So it is that we work on what's going on in our life, what's going on inside, because this is where we can do the wonderful work of transformation and change that can bring about our highest and best, the life that we so desire, the joy, the happiness, the peace that we're seeking. It can be found. It's found within. Don't look everywhere else. Don't look high, don't look low, don't look for this or that. Don't go rushing up to this place or that place. It's found deep within you. So our real challenge in life is to go within. And this is the basis of Science of the Mind that's really sharing with us that as we do, there's a power within that can lift our life to the highest level and bring about great transformation. Our challenge is that this outer world is so noisy. Monkey mind chatter. It's going on, all kinds of stuff. Lots of negative trash coming up. Oh, we experienced it today. And in some of our conversations with others, we talked about all this noise that's coming up in our world that's just when we entertain it, we give power to it. It's far better that we just dismiss it, release it, and let it go. Those who are influenced by the sensational are going to think the worst is inevitable. It's so true. When you are open to be influenced by every conspiracy theory, everything, oh, this is wrong, this is bad, you're giving power to those thoughts of negativity. What happens is that you're going to just live out the belief that the worst is inevitable in your life. But there's a silent power within each and every one of us. It's the power of believing. And if we believe the spiritual thought power within us is an actual current of energy, and it's as real as electric current, that it is the most tremendous force in the universe, then we can create an impact in the world. The power of spiritual thought. I dwell in the highest and best, and my thoughts are filled with the highest and best and the all good. And it is that power that's at work within me. It is that gives a life force energy within us, an energy that's transformational within us. It's like the electric current flowing through your house, offering all kinds of power for the journey of your life. So it's really important that we understand the power of our thought. As a man thinks, so he is. So whatever you're thinking, that's what you are. If you're thinking that your world is full of chaos and trouble and all this kind of stuff, and you're giving such focus to that which you focus and hold in mind will produce more so in like kind, we would say, that it is producing over and over again, and that which you're dwelling and focusing on is just only going to manifest more and more. So release that which you really don't desire in your life. Let go of it. And welcome now the thoughts of the all good. God, the all good. Welcome that. And allow this cleansing of thought to just then release this spiritual power of thought, this spiritual thought power that's within you. So let's get some terms and essentials down as we begin this class study, because you're going to hear us talk about treatment. In New Thought, we use this word treatment for prayer. We treat out for results rather than pray for them. Pray for them is the old manner, we might say, of pleading and beseeching and begging, where treatment is a definite movement of mind. It's all about changing your thinking. You've heard it over again. People say, change your thoughts, change your world. Change your thinking, change your world. Well, that's so true. Because when we work on a definite movement of mind and moving it in a definite direction of good, it's believing and expressing the cause that brings about the effect. So what we're doing is, if we know that every effect has a cause, let's go back to say, what effect are we living in? And what was the cause of that effect? What was the thinking? What was the background that brought about this effect? So we want to go back and treat our thinking. It can be fear, stress, worry, doubt. All of these emotions that are rising within us, we want to treat them until there's been a transformation in our thinking. We now begin to welcome the thoughts that all is working together for good. And when we live from that perspective, we sow that thought power. We sow those spiritual thoughts of all good is unfolding. That God is making a way when there seems to be no way. We're sowing that thought in our consciousness. That becomes the cause that brings about a totally different effect. Now you know that you do not create power. You merely lay hold of that invisible power that's already existed, that which we call the divine, that which we call the source, that which we call God, that which we call infinite wisdom, that which we call infinite possibilities. That's what we're calling upon, is this great power within us. And when we use the word power or infinite healing presence, what we're really saying is we mean that this is the wisdom of the ages. This is God, which brought the world into being. That wisdom is the super intelligence in and through the universe, and it's in each and every one of us. God within us. God in us. Now, I would suggest that we begin to find some other ways of expressing the divine other than the word God. You see, one of our challenges with the word God is that we put together all kinds of mental pictures. For many of us, we think of a being. We think of someone we're praying to, someone outside of us. We think of maybe this white-haired man with a gray beard sitting on a throne in a white robe. All those things are sort of concepts to help us understand the deeper meaning behind all of it. And we're not called to worship the concept or the picture, but to understand the meaning behind the picture. So unfortunately, in our world today, in our mainstream religions, we have just created images of God in our mind, and they're separate from us. We want to acknowledge God within. So let's talk about power within. Let's talk about the divine source within. Let's talk about the infinite wisdom of the ages that's within us. Let's use this kind of language to help us make a shift in our understanding that the kingdom of heaven, the dwelling of God, the realm of the divine source dwells within each and every one of us. Now, for this class, I want to invite you to be open-minded. I know that many people have begin the study of science of the mind, and they come to the approach with a closed mind, feeling like, I know everything, and I'm going to study this to find out what's wrong, or what's faulty, or what's not true, or what I don't agree with, or on goes the list. And so we've already come with sort of a closed mind. I want to tell you this, we cannot move forward in our spiritual life when we already have a closed mind to anything within our journey. Now, I grew up in a fundamentalist tradition, and a lot of people there would say in religion, oh, you can't have an open mind. An open mind is the tool of the devil. Do not allow your mind to be open to all kinds of things, because you'll entertain all kinds of crazy thoughts and ideas. And so you need to have a very closed mind and only read and study and know things that are of the fundamentalist spiritual journey that I came from. Trouble is, I missed out on all kinds of things, and it's when I left that fundamentalist journey that I began to find a plethora of all kinds of information, wonderful spiritual pathways and truths that were not always afforded to me because I was in a closed mind environment, open-minded. Now let me tell you this, the Spirit of God is there to guide you and lead you, and it's not going to lead you astray just because you have an open mind and you're willing to study, learn, explore, ask questions. The Spirit of God will guide you in all ways as you trust in your study. Now, acknowledge that wrong thinking, well, it's brought about some unfortunate circumstances. So our negative thinking has brought about some negative circumstances. Our doubt has limited us in our journey for success. Our worry and fear have held us back from our highest and best. So this wrong thinking, this error thinking, has brought some unfortunate circumstances. I think we need to begin by acknowledging that. Next, let's take responsibility. I am where I am because of my past thinking. I am where I am because of my past thinking. If your past thinking was, I'm a failure, well, and you're wondering why you're not living the successful life you desire, it's that past thinking that has been the cause that brought about the effect of your continual failure. So what we need to do is study to absorb the principles and to allow them to go deep within our consciousness, deep into the level of understanding, to a place where we have embraced them with what we might call a true sense of knowing. That knowing which is a complete resolve to the truth, a complete rest in it, to say, I know this deep within me to be true. And of course, as we journey through this class, what we need to do is practice. Truth never becomes our own until we apply it. And there's so much in our life out there that is waiting for us, but we never will possess it if we don't apply it. Compassion. It'll never be yours if you don't begin to apply it. Patience. It'll never be yours if you don't begin to apply it. Love. It can't really be yours if you don't begin to apply it. So all the things that we're learning in spiritual truths, we've got to practice them. We've got to start applying them. The human consciousness must be changed to a God consciousness, which carries in itself all fulfillment. Jesus spoke about this. He said, you must be born again. What is it to be born again? But to start all over and to be born into the Spirit. That which we were thinking this way, now we're thinking this way. We have a spirit of repentance about us, that we were in error thinking and now we're moving to right thinking or righteousness. And we are born again. We start afresh. We start anew. It is a new beginning for our lives. And if we're ever going to encounter the presence of God, this divine source, the kingdom of heaven within, if we're ever going to encounter this love within our spirit, this joy, this peace within, we've got to begin again. We've got to go back to the beginning. We've got to be born anew, born again. And that born again experience is simply that of embracing a new thought, beginning to think in new ways, beginning to embrace the power, the presence, the divine wisdom, all that is of God. A God that will never leave us nor forsake us, is always with us. This divine power and presence, this source, this universe, shall we call it, that is all around us and ever for us. That's what we want to begin to embrace a consciousness of, and embrace a consciousness that is God consciousness, God wisdom, infinite knowledge, the knowing of the universe. Let's begin to embrace it, welcome it. How do we do that? We start with a new thought, thinking in new ways, starting our thought process in a new way that's born anew. So what we want to understand from lesson 1 is that your mind and how it works is so important that we grasp this. So the ocean is all one mass of water, yet we refer to the surface and to the depths of the ocean. Like the ocean, the human mind is all one, yet there's two distinctly different types of activities that are carried on within it. There's the surface mind, the conscious mind, or we might call it the objective mind, and it can be called the directing mind as well. It's that surface mind with all the thoughts that are going. We choose the thoughts that we want to think. You don't have to think every thought that comes into your head. Thousands of thoughts flood your mind every day. You don't have to dwell on them. You don't have to choose them. Some of them can come in and you slip and let them slip on by. You don't have to entertain them all. You have the power to choose. This is the surface mind. Now, the deeper mind is the subconscious mind, or could be referred to as the subjective mind, or the unconscious mind. This is the creating or the manufacturing phase of mind. And it takes what's on the surface mind and gives it and turns thoughts into things. So what the surface mind gives, the deeper mind will take and turn it into things, into our reality. So, this is like the habitual mind. It's the storehouse of experience, and it's the most reliable agent in the world for bringing choice into form or into manifestation. All healing, success, prosperity, is produced within the deeper mind before appearing in the outer manifestation. It is one with the infinite mind. So let's just explain this again. Surface mind, lots of fleeting thoughts that you may encounter all day long. Which ones are you choosing? Are they thoughts of fear, worry, stress, anxiety? Or are they thoughts of love, peace, joy, prosperity, blessing? Are they thoughts that are filled with the positive energy of the goodness of God? Those thoughts then go into the deeper mind. And whatever you've been thinking and holding in mind all week long or all day long is going within that womb, shall we say, that environment where the seed of thought has been planted into that womb to give birth to things. So we then, quite often, we respond to life from the deeper mind, from the subconscious mind. So what we want to do is look at what habitual thoughts have we been putting in? What seeds have we been planting into this garden that are producing and manifesting within our life? Because the deeper mind would be like the womb to birth. The surface mind is that thought that you might entertain, that you select, and you have the chance through intellect to choose what might be planted into that deeper mind. Now, the deeper mind then is obedient to the surface mind. It has no power to choose, but it only obeys. So if you hold this thought in mind, it becomes then a belief. And you act then from that belief. And that belief then manifests and creates. It becomes a cause that creates an effect. So now we find a beautiful illustration within our textbook of the idea of a loom that is weaving the pattern of life. Years ago as a child, I would go to my aunt's house, and she had a big loom, and she loved to take fabric and tear it into strips, and she would weave it in, and she would create these rag rugs. They were quite creative, colorful, very beautiful and unique. But on her loom, she'd weave in the certain threads, and with her design in mind, thinking some blue threads would go in, and then let's couple it with some red threads, and then let's weave in some yellow threads, and then some orange or whatever, creating this wonderful, colorful rug that she was weaving together. But remember, the weaver has the opportunity to choose exactly the pattern and to choose the color and the shape of the rug. So it is within our own life. We are weaving our destiny by the thoughts that we choose to weave into the loom of life that goes forward, that creates for our lives. You are the weaver. The universe then is fair, and life never lets us down, but we often let ourselves down. Life never fails us, but we may fail life. Life is part of the cause and effect, and we simply fail in giving the loom the sort of materials it needs to weave a beautiful life. So what we want to understand is, choose wisely the thoughts that you entertain in your life. Go through and select that which you would desire to weave into the patterns of your life to create that beautiful life. And set aside those things that you're not wanting to use. I would often see my aunt at the loom, weaving away, creating these wonderful rugs, selecting the threads. Oh, no, not this one. This is going here. I don't want that in this rug pattern. So there'd be a pile of fabrics over here that she was not going to use because she was selecting exactly what she wanted. So it is in our own journey. We select our thoughts. Use the power of selection, the power of choice. You've been given free will. Choose. Choose ye this day, Scripture says, whom ye will serve. Will you be serving fear and anxiety and worry and stress, or will you be serving joy and peace and contentment? It's all up to you. Because thoughts are seeds in the creative soil of the mind, and we have to ask the big question, what are you planting into the deeper mind, into the soil of our life. The word law can be substituted for Lord, that which is sovereign over our life. The word Lord would mean that which rules over our life. So we understand that there are spiritual laws, that God is not vengeful, but the impersonal law of cause and effect produces what it looks like as vengeance, but it does not do it with the intent to punish any more than the river punishes a drowning person who falls into it. Do you get that? You fall into the river. You made the choice. You fell into it. You jumped into the waters. And if you're drowning, it's not the river's fault. It's the choice you made. So we have to understand that if we understand the spiritual law of that which I sow, I reap, you have to understand I make the choice of what I sow. So if I don't like what I'm reaping, it's not God's fault. It's my own fault. And I have to realize, wow, I need to change what I'm sowing. If I don't like to be drowning, don't want to drown in the river, well then don't jump in the river. Make the choice. It's that simple. It's not the river that's punishing. It's we who create this world that punishes ourselves. So the law of cause and effect is equally impersonal, meaning that it has no favoritism whatsoever. So understand that the interchangeable words of Lord and law and how they work, the Bible says, I am the Lord. I create good and I create evil. I am the law, we might say, and that's what's unfolding the good and the challenge, shall we say, within our lives, if we want to translate that. The law is doing the work because the law is the law and it's impersonal. It's not showing any favoritism, so it doesn't matter. Whatever you've chosen to do, it's going to say that's what you're going to get. There are certain laws. Do we understand that? It's like the law of you take the color yellow and you mix it with the color blue. What do you get? Pink. No, you don't get pink. Oh, red? No. Orange? No. Why is it we always get green? Blue and yellow make green. It's a law. Okay? So what if we complain and say, it's God who's punishing me because when I use blue and yellow together, I want pink and I want pink so bad and I'm not getting pink. But the law is what's bringing it about. So if you look at the spiritual law of your life that's at work, it's working for you whether you understand it or not. Because it's impersonal. Doesn't matter if you know it or not. It's going to be unfolding in your life. Isaiah 45 says, I form the light and create the darkness. I bring prosperity and create disaster. I, the Lord, do all these things. I, the law, do all these things. So the law of prosperity, and shall we say, or the law of sowing and reaping, is always going to be in operation. And it will bring prosperity or disaster depending on what you have chosen to sow. So if you choose to sow weeds in your garden, the law says you will have weeds. If you chose to sow tomato seeds, you're going to have tomatoes. It doesn't matter who you are. Well, wait a minute. No. What about someone who's really holy and spiritual and a pastor? Don't they get special benefits? No, the law applies to them just the same. The law is the automatic bringer of man's thought into form. The key is we have the power of choice. So we can choose what seed we put into the soil, what thought we impart into the law. Now, there is an infinite wisdom within you because we're created in the image and likeness of God, and that God is infinite wisdom, all-knowing. This wisdom, this presence lies deep within the mental state, the mental makeup of every soul born in this world. No religion has a monopoly on it. Without the infinite wisdom, any religion is simply, a mere system of ethics. Science of the mind is primarily a philosophy of life that fits within the framework of any and all religions. Our next class will be a Jewish pathway of spirituality. Now, you need not be a Jew to follow this pathway, which is called Musar. But it's simply a framework of spiritual guidance for our lives that can be applied to a person of any faith or tradition or religion. So when we understand that the science of the mind is this ancient wisdom, it's not tied to one particular religion or one particular dogma, doctrine, denomination, etc., etc. It is simply the framework of any coming together because it is truth, ageless, timeless truth that comes together. As we continue on, we're going to be looking at what is healing in the journey of our lives. Healing is the healing of false inward belief. The manifestation in form of this changed belief is the outer healing, or the fruit of the new belief. So when we change our beliefs, we experience this wonderful healing within our body as we begin to open up our lives to now possibilities. We allow ourselves to dwell on the highest and best, the perfection that's found within us. This is the unfolding of healing. It's changing that false inward belief. So many people face challenges in their health because of some false belief within them, some fear, anxiety, and stress. Ulcers is a perfect example. We get ulcers because we've embraced fear, stress, worry, anxiety. So much that we create, it manifests within the body. Healing happens when we begin to change our thinking, and we begin to change our belief. And what happens is there is an outer healing. We're going to talk a little bit in our class too, as well as about prosperity. And prosperity is not primarily money. It is a deep inward state of mind on which money is going to grow and manifest, because it's a state of mind that you are blessed, prosperous, gifted. You are perfect. These are going to unfold prosperity when we have this kind of consciousness in our mind. Money will be a byproduct of this kind of thinking. Now, the error of one who only grasps a little bit of this teaching is that one has only to think of health or prosperity, and that's what this teaching is all about. How do I get my health? How do I get my prosperity? If I do, everything's going to be perfect. But really, this is all about cultivating our faith, cultivating the power of our believing. And if we do not, we're going to be led by the challenges then of this surface water, of this surface mind. But we've got to go deep. Because let me tell you this, still waters run deep. And we've got to go into the depth of the deeper mind and go deep within into consciousness, where we might find our connection with the divine mind. And release all the surface chatter that's based on this physical world of what do I see, what do I feel, what do I taste, what do I hear. On goes these kind of things to a deeper sense of knowing of what's deep within, that God space within us. So welcome to this wonderful journey of this study as we look to all of these wonderful basics unfolding in our lives. So tonight, what we really want to grasp and walk away with, I hope, is a true understanding that there's a central theme in Science of the Mind, and that there is a power within you that can lift you to the highest level. We want to tap into that power. That power is the divine source. That power is God within you. Welcome to this study. I'm so glad you're here with us, and I hope you'll stay with us over the next 7 weeks coming up as we continue to go deeper into this study. The workbook will help us and guide us through this, offering some key points for helping us understand science of the mind, understanding this science of the infinite consciousness, the wisdom of the ages, the mind. And we might understand the infinite intelligence that's found within us, and to know ourselves in the power of self-realization. So I hope you'll join with us in classes ahead, and I'm looking forward to seeing you. Now, each class, I'm going to ask you, what's your takeaway? What are you sort of holding in mind, in thought, and what's kind of like, aha, let me think on this, let me meditate, or let me just dwell on this a little bit. So I'd love to hear from each and every one of you. If you'll take a moment to type in what your takeaway is from this introduction to this class, I'd love to hear from you. I'd love to share your comments with others as well. So take a moment, type them in, and Dr. David Carter, our registrar, is watching the Facebook page for your comments and will share them with me so we can respond back and forth. Look forward to that. Now, while we're waiting to hear from you, I'd love to hear from our multimedia team that's been in part of this class, which I'm ever so grateful for. I appreciate them and all the work that they do to make sure this live streaming goes forward without a hitch, and it is so successful. We appreciate all of their time and their talents. Let's go to Steve Ginn. Tell us, what's your takeaway from what you heard tonight?
The universe is fair, but as a question, let's say someone was born with cerebral palsy, all right, as an example. To say that, it was something they were thinking about because they had it at birth doesn't seem plausible. And if it was said that, well, they're reaping what they sowed in a previous life, kind of seems like a cop-out answer or explanation. Is there another explanation for that?
Certainly. So when we say the universe is fair, we say that the outcome of wherever you're starting, it's fair. It's as if you would say, wait a minute, we're all lined up for a race, okay? But I'm here, you're there, and the goal is there. You're closer to the goal than I am, like the illustration of someone being physically well and someone facing a handicap. But the universe says, all things are possible in fairness for each and every one. So if you want to win the race, the fairness is all held in consciousness and in mind. Now, the person who's starting over here, who you may look and say, they've got the advantage, may be filled with doubt and fear whether they could actually come to the goal or cross the finish line. The person back here, who you may deem as handicapped and limited, may say, go at it. Let me hear the gun go. I'm ready to go. I'm giving it my all. And they surpass the person who has no limitation, because the universe is fair in the opportunity for us to plant seeds in mind. So the fairness is you are all available to make the choice, no matter what your conditions are, where you start in life. Everyone, it's fair. You can choose success if you want it. It's totally up to you, because the fairness is in mind, not necessarily, shall we say, in the physical realm, because we want to say, well, wait a minute, the handicapped person, it wasn't fair for the person who has no physical limitations to run a race. But we're talking in the spiritual realm, there is no partiality. So it says it's all up to you. So even though you may be physically fit, if you don't believe it, and you don't try, you don't have the thoughts that you can do it, you may stumble and fall while the other person surpasses you and wins the trophy. You see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. So the fairness is all in us. Now, the beautiful thing is we've all been given something in our life that is maybe our challenge to work through in this journey. Some, it may be some physical handicap or some experience or something, because there's something for the soul to do, some soul work, refining. But what the universe, the law says is fair is that I don't care what your choice of evolution or evolving of the soul you've chosen. Doesn't matter. It's all going to be fair. So the fairness is in, do you want to choose success? Then choose it. So we find someone who would say, wait a minute, I came out of poverty and I'm way behind the line. And someone else is wealthy and a rich kid. But we have how many stories of someone who has been in poverty, overcome that poverty and rise to the level and become the CEO and the multimillionaire because he made the choice. And we can also look at stories of someone who has been gifted with an awful lot, wealth and opportunity, and they squandered it and wasted it because they had the same opportunity to excel, but because they were gifted with so much, they were like, you know what, I don't need to work hard. I don't need to think about this. I'll just let life unfold, whatever. And some people who had society's advantages have fallen, failed, lost their position, squandered all their wealth, lost everything, while someone from poverty is rich. So the fairness in the universe is saying that there is opportunity for everyone. Doesn't matter where your starting point is. And that starting point may be part of your spiritual unfolding. So as example, I came into this world as a gay man. I never made a choice. I didn't check one day, hey, I think I'll be gay. No, I always was. Was that a handicap or was that a blessing? Was it a good thing or a bad thing? You see, we could all look at that in the world and say, oh, you were set way behind while others who were heterosexual were way ahead of the game. It's all how you look at it, but it was something I had to work through to rise to my own personal success level. And the universe was fair to me in saying, it's totally up to you, Paul. What do you want to choose? Would you like to be a victim? Choice is yours. Would you like to see yourself as a failure? Would you like to blame the rest of the world for everything? Or would you like to see yourself as successful? Would you like to see you as an overcomer? Would you like to see yourself as seen as full self-accepting of yourself? Well, how do you like it? It's up to you. It's your choice. So, that's where the universe is impartial. The law is impartial. Okay, great. I love your question, and I appreciate you asking. That was really great. Thank you, Steve. Added to the class so much. All right, let's go to Dr. David Carter. What's your takeaway, or what's your thought?
My takeaway is the tool for my success is that I can live out Proverbs 3:5-6.
Tool to our success is trust. Trust, 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 trust. Trust in the Lord, not with a part, but with all of our heart. Yeah, that's the beauty. Amen. All right, do we have any other takeaways from students?
I have 3.
All right.
Okay, Dr. Holly Hill.
Dr. Holly Hill, welcome. Good to hear from you tonight.
If it appears that our prayers aren't being answered, we don't blame God. We must look at ourselves and see what is blocking the flow of good to us.
Beautiful. What is blocking the flow? That's where we need to go. Just look and say, what's holding us back from our highest and best? Thank you, Holly. Great takeaway. Someone else?
Tyrone.
Tyrone, great to have you with us. Good to see you.
Born again is when we change our error thinking. We have a new thought and new ways of thinking and actions.
Right. The born again experience is all about thinking in a new way. It is about the shift in consciousness, the shift in thought. Great takeaway. Anyone else?
Crystal Sanders.
Crystal, great to see you. Thanks for joining us tonight.
This is a powerful feeling all around. Love always.
Powerful feeling all around. Great, wonderful. Crystal, sending lots of love to you tonight too. God bless you. Thanks for joining us. I miss your sign language. Looking forward to it one day when you're coming back to the services and sharing that beautiful ministry. Thank you. Great. Well, we're glad that you all had a chance to be with us tonight. And next week we begin again at 7 o'clock for a deeper study in these basic principles and understanding how we can live this life that we're called to live of great success, great blessing, love, and wonderful sense of a personal success of our highest and best. God bless you. I'm Reverend Dr. Paul Gretz, and I look forward to connecting with you soon via Facebook, or send me an email at revtpaul@aol.com. Let me know what your questions may be or how I can help you on the journey of your study. Now, if you've enjoyed this class so far and you're looking forward to this series unfolding for you, we would appreciate it if you'd make a donation towards the Emerson Institute. Your offerings, your gifts help to enable this ministry to go forward in so many dynamic ways. Thank you for your thinking of us in a generous way. You can go to our website at www.cityoflightatlanta.com. And there you'll find a donate button. You can offer your gifts, your offerings, your donations, whatever you'd like to be. We greatly appreciate that so much. And thank you for joining us for these classes, whether you're a student taking it for credit or whether you're simply viewing these classes as one who's auditing the class. You're all welcome. And we look forward to you continuing studying together as we endeavor to on the journey of spiritual enrichment to our highest and best. God bless you. You have a great evening, and I'll look forward to seeing you again.